Hey everybody, welcome to CR Game Room. That was a little intro that we got for this. So today we're going to be talking about some helpful hints for the two-team takedown Golden Age event, some teams that we thought would be good. I'm Chris.
I'm Rob.
Come on, guys.
Come on,
I'm
guys.
Ben.
Roll call. There you go.
I'm Ben.
And
I'm Tabasco.
all
I
right.
do want to save the best for last, but it's fine. I'll go third.
It's always good ending on Tabasco, you know what I'm saying? On eggs and whatnot. So we just wanted to try to give some helpful hints on actual teams that were not necessarily going to brew for the Golden Age 2-team takedown, but it's just teams that we thought would be good to play and see people think about and give some thought into it. So
Yeah, if anyone's
Also,
struggling for team ideas, this is a good starting point for kind of anything they want to run.
yeah,
Yep. And you might actually see a variation of these teams.
yeah,
Yeah. I would imagine that you'll see some variation of at least pretty much all of them. I would
Yeah.
say
yeah.
Yep.
someone will try something like this, so it's good just prep to get you used to.
Yeah. And you could go off of what we're doing and be like, oh, I can beat that.
I just texted.
Do it.
Yep.
Do it. All right. So I'm going to transition over to talk about the first team. All right.
Do it.
All right.
What is the first team?
It's Young Ben's.
Oh.
All right.
Young Ben's what my mom calls me.
Well, you are quite young. So, all right. So Ben has well, Ben, why don't you go and describe it yourself?
This is basically the team I won the 2016 UK Nats with. It was probably in my opinion, it's the best team of all time. But
Tell us how
obviously
you
that's
really
my
feel.
opinion. I know. It was very strong in the meta. I think it has all the pieces that you're going to see on lots of teams. And was just a really strong kind of control build into Bard, which is a nasty piece that is worth knowing about if you don't know about it already. There was this and kind of like the Canadian Nats 2016, which was like the Bard Blitz, which were like the two big teams ish for US Nats. And Bard Blitz was kind of like this, but a bit faster with a bit less control.
So, what's the skeleton and ins and outs of this team, basically?
So essentially, the idea is to control the board until you can get Bard out, and half health Bard lets you do crazy amounts of combat damage. And you use Imprison, which is a basic action to kind of capture all your opponent's stuff to clear the field before you swing in for massive amounts of damage. The main bits around that are Professor X, Recruiting Young Mutants, which is basically there for the global. You can choose this or the rare trainer, and that just lets you go through your bag really quickly. It also gives you a crazy amount of energy, which actually on my UK Nats team I had the Green Goliath Hulk, so that I needed to get up to that bit more. But I found as I was playing at UK Nats, I didn't feel the need for Bard for Hulk all that much. So I've actually swapped him out for a bit more control with Shriek. So you kind of got the two kind of main control pieces of Shriek and Dwarf Wizard, which will let you shut down basically anything.
Yeah.
And then you have Constantine to stop them from blanking your blankers. And then kind of the things that are probably the most oppressive control pieces were Elf Thief in combination with Oracle. So Elf Thief lets you steal energy off your opponent, and Oracle makes all their globals and combination with Oracle, the globals of yours that your opponent might want to use, like Professor X, really expensive. So the kind of the early flow of this team was first turn by Elf Thief, second turn by Oracle, third turn field Elf Thief and Oracle. So unless your opponent was saving 4 energy, they wouldn't get to do Professor X at all. Or 3 energy, I should say.
Yeah.
They wouldn't do Professor X at all. And then you kind of, from there, once you're ahead in ramp, you kind of just keep going picking up what control pieces you need. Eventually, just imprisoned all their stuff and barred through. I swapped out Magic Missile off my UK Nats team because I didn't have Hulk anymore, and put in Misdirection, just purely in case you miss a mask. So on the first turn, you really need a couple of masks at least.
Yeah.
So Misdirection was kind of like a good backup option if you rolled a bunch of fists and only maybe one mask. You didn't want to spend that on Elf Thief. You couldn't buy Constantine, you could buy Misdirection and kind of keep the same flow going. You get Oracle out early. And then the last piece is Breaker, which I think is the best action removal in the game. I think it would still be good against Green Devil Mask. And good against Lantern Ring, Lantern Battery, which wasn't really a thing. But I was worried about it when I built this team. And yeah, it's just a really oppressive team. And Bard lets you run a really heavy control team and just swing at the end of it.
That Breaker's actually counter to the ring teams kind of that we're dominating.
What are we talking about in a minute? Yeah. So the big pieces are Lantern Ring. Imprisoned, you're imprisoned, you can free. And yeah, it gets rid of Lantern Ring, whereas I know Gnome Ranger was popular.
Mm-hmm.
I preferred Breaker because he worked on Lantern Ring.
Yeah. One thing that a Breaker doesn't really help if you already have 3 things in the field, it kind of just doesn't really help with that Green Devil Mask, but that's one of the caveats of...
Yeah, but then nothing helps. Nothing helps against that. If
Yeah.
you have 3 characters in the field.
Yeah. Only if you had something to make that reroll, but that's super crazy good.
Mm-hmm.
So you basically just, once you get going on, like, does it mess you up if the opponent buys Imprisoned and messes with your board?
A little bit, because you kind of have the pieces that you don't really have any expensive fielding costs, which Gnome Ranger is good for.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you have Breaker, so you just buy a Breaker and then you're waiting a turn, but you get all your stuff back. And Breaker's got really good stats as well.
Okay. So you do have a counter to the play against you if they use your own.
Yeah. I mean, it was in the mirror match. It was all about that kind of counterplay and when was best to trigger it Imprisoned. But yeah, this team sets up really fast and is really oppressive. So I don't know.
And according to the 3-time champion of multiple places, the best team ever made.
The best team. I think it's... Yeah, well, for the time anyway, I think you change my UK Nats team slightly now. But it was very control. It was very control heavy, which is very. It fit my play style very well. It was very control heavy. You felt pretty comfortable, and then you just barred to win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what are your guys' thoughts on this?
That sounds disgusting, and I don't want to play against it ever in my life.
Yeah, but it was. In my opinion, I liked it a little bit better than the kind of Yanti builds that are kind of really good now, and I think would probably challenge this for the best team ever. Just because there was a bit more interaction, there's a little bit more. I'm setting up
things. Yeah. I can appreciate that. I like that better than just I'm gonna buy Yanti and some things and I win.
There's a little bit more choice in what you bought, like if you needed to buy Constantine or Dwarf Wizard or Hulk, like what you wanted to use to control.
Yeah.
And I like that.
Yeah, it's a bit more control-y than we have currently, I think.
A little less spammy, too.
Yeah, it's still pretty spam. That Imprisoned's a horrible thing to play against. It's not.
It's not
I'm not gonna sit here and lie that it was like a jolly good time having all your stuff captured.
I'm just glad you haven't really played it against me when we've played, because I don't want to play that. So
yeah, it's brutal. Yeah, and
right. So I don't want to go up against the Intercontinental Champ, but I still think updating the team to where Breaker switched out with Scarlet Witch. In today's meta, you don't really you need something to be there before they roll that first Imprisoned or that first cube.
Maybe I think Scarlet Witch would be a good tech piece against it. I kind of like the fact the Breaker is a guaranteed solution, whereas Scarlet Witch is not a guaranteed solution. Because if they imprison your Elf Thief and Oracle and Bard, like you have to buy them all again. I mean, if they get past that Scarlet Witch, if they have like a parallax or something, there's not a lot you can do about it after that.
Yeah.
So one of the things I like about Scarlet Witch is that, especially in the Golden meta, is that she forces players to play around the lax tax, which reduces their effectiveness in their early turns as well.
Yeah, but with Professor X, they're gonna have energy to spare. But yeah, I can definitely see the argument for Scarlet Witch. I would just take in this for strictly to counter imprisoned and ring. I would take a definite. I think Scarlet Witch is very useful when you're going up against something like an investigation team or a Yan T team where they're having to roll action dice constantly. Then the kind of taxing works. Whereas with this team, once you imprison, you can clear their whole field and just keep it.
Yeah.
Till you don't want it anymore. And that's only one time, right? Personally, if I was playing against that, I'd be happy paying the 1 parallax energy to roll my imprisoned, capture all your stuff, and then just keep it.
That's true.
The other thing though, I like what you're saying, but I kind of agree with Joe on there, because with that Oracle out there, and if they don't hit what they need, and they've got to play that parallax, they got to go down to the tax. And if you have Oracle out, it's just going to be so brutal for them, because it's going to be cutting it in half what they can do each turn.
But with PXG out there, right? PXG's in there, right?
Yeah,
yeah.
But it costs 2 to use PXG.
You should have a lot of energy. I'll pay the 2.
Yeah.
I have extra energy sitting around.
I can definitely see the point, but I think if you run Scarlet Witch, Imprison is such a powerful die. That if it hits one time,
yeah, it's over.
Yeah,
if you were running Scarlet Witch, you'd have to buy another Scarlet Witch.
Yeah, no, that's a good point.
Whereas with Breaker, you can be a bit more responsive. So with Scarlet Witch, I guess you'd have to get it out first before they bought Imprisoned, or before they played Imprisoned. So you'd need to go for it. Whereas Breaker, you don't need to go for at all unless they do that.
So it's more of a reactionary than...
Yeah, which I think fits this team a little bit better. But yeah, I can see the play for going with Scarlet Witch. And if you don't have Breaker, there are a bunch of options that can be used.
Yeah, there's also the Rare Bleeze from War of Light. She does the same thing.
I don't have
she
that
does.
card.
She has a bit worse stats and fielding cost, but then she has a higher fielding cost, which in some respects against Imprisoned is not a terrible thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's just for people out there who didn't have the Yu-Gi-Oh! Series 1, but they picked up the game a little bit later, say towards War of Light, Bleeze Rare was all over the place.
Same thing, and Gnome Ranger. There's the Storm from X-Men, which can reroll action dice, which is good.
Yep. Any iteration of that Storm is really good because she can also redirect damage dealt by actions.
Yeah. Good stuff.
All right.
But
it was just a very quick and
Well, before we move on, I did want to say something to highlight something that Ben's team really the list, as well as some of the things that he was saying towards his presentation is that what we have in the schism between modern format and Golden Age is that Golden Age, for however many powerful cards and options you had, a lot of them were kind of like 2-for-1, 3-for-1 deals, like Imprisoned, right? So the deal is that Golden Age format Dice Masters plays a lot more like a chess match, like they were saying earlier in Discord the other day. Michaela as well as Shadow and all them, they were saying like it's a move counter move where all the information is present, and just like Ben was saying, you just had to find the right spot to play it, purchase. You had to find your areas to attack, and if the player is inexperienced in that kind of area, then it will be a greater disadvantage to them. And so that's the difference that we're seeing here is teams like this where you see it and you go, man, that game's going to take forever. It actually doesn't, especially if you have, especially if you know what your turn, your buying order is and all that stuff.
Yeah, this had a very, it has a very nice curve to it as well. I think you could probably fit in a 6 cost if it was like a zombie mags would be maybe an interesting choice on here. There's stuff to play around with. There's space on the team, but it really had that nice flow with Elf Thief Oracle. It was basically Elf Thief Oracle Bard Imprisoned Win.
So this is a really good. This is
So
a really
you want
good
on turn
control.
5 pretty regularly.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a really good control skeleton. I like it. Like you said, we can switch out the Dwarf Wizard for something bigger like Z-Mags that you can use misdirection, because as I'm looking at it, I really can't find a place for the misdirection other than side out a sidekick for your
Well, it's just a way to get. It's literally a way to get Oracle in the field as quick as possible.
Yeah, or your half elf bard.
You
So
could
like,
or Bard, yeah.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I just put that on because it's a solid call. I don't think it's a spectacular call. Like I said, I had Magic Missile there and Hulk on the team originally, so you could mess around with that. But maybe Polymorph would be a better shout just because it has that bit of protection that you can use against your opponent.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a bunch of stuff you could put in End of Days if you're worried about Beholder. Yeah, like I said, I think the Dwarf Wizard and the Misdirection definitely are a flex spot if you need them.
Yeah, and something that we've been talking about but haven't really hit upon is Shriek and Dwarf Wizard. They, even though they are functionally the same, they still operate on a very different basis. Because with Dwarf Wizard, the card has to, or the die has to be out there. With Shriek, you just have to choose a name and it ignores the card. Whereas with Dwarf Wizard, the die representing the card has to be out. And so it kind of messes with your timing a little bit.
So again, I think it's kind of like layers, right? Like, so you go Elf Thief Oracle, you get those out early, then you can go for the Shriek if they're gonna beat you, you go for the Shriek early. Then when they buy their Shriek, you try and get Constantine out to stop their Shriek. If you miss that, you can go for the Dwarf Wizard after, or you can use Dwarf Wizard to shut down something like Collector, which they can shriek your Shriek every turn with your Shriek.
Mm-hmm.
Confusing as that sounds.
That
They
was
can buy your Shriek. Yeah.
No, that's common modern terminology right there. Shriek your Shriek or Collector your Shriek. That's common. Everybody should be expecting that right now.
I really like Dwarf Wizard just for the reactionary piece that you can have in there.
Mm-hmm.
The objective is to kind of buy pieces. You don't want a team where you have to combo 6 or 8 pieces together, right? And in this team, you literally just need Bard and Prison. That's the combo. That's the winning combo. Everything else is kind of control.
Yeah.
Yeah. So those really weren't criticisms, more as just like highlighting specific areas. Yeah. And I like the build myself. Like I said, it presents a good skeleton for a control build because you have the basics, but you also have room to flex around. And you have the stuff where you need it. So
yeah, I mean, this is definitely not. No one should just take a team and copy it straight up. You should always practice it and choose what you like out of it. And I think a bunch of people ran a similar build to this at US Nats and Worlds.
Net decking doesn't take place in Dice Masters,
but they changed a couple of bits, right? You can net deck, but you need to change a couple of bits, right? So I know people would use Gnome Ranger, for example, as a flex spot rather than the Breaker.
Yeah.
Cool. I like it.
All right. You get a gold star.
Gold star, man. First place gold star.
All right.
All right.
And here's my stupid, terrible team.
What is this team, sir? What do you call this team?
Spammy McSpammer Face.
Probably the best team.
The second best team around.
Best team NA.
It might be the best team ever. I don't know. This is a super disgusting team.
This is pretty much what I ran at the WKO that I attended, and so did like most of everyone else.
In Dallas, or we're not creative.
Yeah, we're not creative in Dallas at all. The only thing different on this team that I had, instead of Professor Xavier, because it wasn't, you can't put it in there, I had Heimdall, and it served the same purpose. You can only fit in one mask use playing this team if you play it properly. But so the highlight is Yanti, the super rare Yanti. So basically, whenever you purchase an action, you get to trigger a tune on any attuned characters. And another good thing to go along with that is Indala Simber. She's basically there to counter like a dragon, which Gold Dragon kind of is hard because whenever he does his breath weapon, she goes back into the field because it's a good character on that dragon, and it really helps out. And then the thing that really pushes this team really ridiculously is the fact that it has Cosmic Cube, rare Cosmic Cube. I actually beat Robert on stream, the fastest of anyone that got beat at the tournaments.
It was horrible.
It was a 5.5 minute match, wasn't it?
2.5 minute.
It was a 2.5 minute.
Yeah.
It was
Like-
ridiculous.
Yeah, no.
It was really, really ridiculous. Like, and then on the team you have Parallax for the Parallax stacks because you got to have that. If you don't hit your stuff, you're gonna lose. Straight up with this team. That's the only way to guarantee what you want. And then I put improvised weapon because if it comes down to it and you have to buy the one action and you kind of stall out, the improvised weapon actually winds up being a good thing because you get to draw and prep a die if it doesn't roll. So that's actually really good for this team, and it's a mini form of ramp. And then the other one I have is Blink Transmutation. In case they're forcing my Yanti to attack, I just save a mask because I'll be trying to do that anyways, and it'll just keep me from having my Yanti taken out of the field. And then I have just Bat Signal, Cobalt Trap, and Shriek, and Professor Xavier. And really, those are just the Cobalt Trap, Bat Signal are really just there for one-cost buys, and Shriek is there in case things get hairy and I have to use that. Oh, on my WKO team, I had, I think, what did I have on there? I think instead of Bat Signal, I had Kryptonite also.
Yes, you did.
I did.
That was the kind of isolated meta that we had in Dallas at the time. There was eight total lists that people brought to that WKO.
I promised to fix it.
And
Yeah.
7, no, I'm talking about 8 total Yanti lists. 6 of the 8 were verbatim lists, and that's because of the meta that we were experiencing at that time. Everybody knew about it. Everybody tested it within the same group, within eyesight of each other. So Kryptonite was one of the more common ones that was shared in all 8 of the teams.
The funny
But
thing is, I didn't play against anyone that was like really going. I really just played against Robert, and I saw what he was doing to annoy me.
Yeah.
But you played against several other Yanti teams that WKO though, right? I believe you played against 2 other ones.
Yeah, I got demolished by one, then I demolished another one, and then the one I lost to was JT, and JT's really good, and ours went to max time.
Yeah.
In a mirror Yanti match.
And it was
lost 'cause you
it was pretty much card for card, except for you had Heimdall and he didn't.
He also had super rare doppelganger.
Oh, that was his special tech.
Yeah, him and Stewart
Yeah.
had that. But I bought a cube when I should have bought a Yanti, and I lost because of that. I can honestly say I had like the first game I played against him, it was over within 3 minutes. I got my. If you get your rolls with the Yanti team, there's no stopping it. Like Ben has tried to go over and figure out ways to beat this team. You have to super sell out to beat it.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to. Well, because this team is super strong in the meta right now, taking away the Cosmic Cube and putting Pseudo Dragon in. Put Pseudo Dragon in this team and it's still ridiculous. So add in just an action die that triggers Yanti's ability when you buy it and when you play it as well. It's just, and one less character to worry about in the field. It's very, very. I mean, when people talk about a turn 3 kill team, I mean this is a turn 3 kill team, like
consistent.
This is it. Yeah, we've been playing around with it a little bit, like rolling through some stuff, and I find it so easy to win turn 3 that it's yeah, I don't know.
And the thing about it is, there's 2 different ways you can go about your purchase order. You could do a Yanti, then a cube, or if you go second, you could do Yanti cube, then the next turn cube, and be able to have all 3 of those dice over there with a bunch of actions to play and it doesn't matter what your opponent's doing, you're winning the next turn, period.
Yeah, it depends how you want your kind of ramp set up. But yeah, there's not much that stops it. Bad rolls and maybe stops you from losing, but you might be taking like 15 damage or 18 damage or...
Yeah. You're getting put behind the 8 ball really quickly if they roll everything, or if they just, I mean, it's either you get put behind the 8 ball or you're just done. Your opponent. So that's really all it is with this team. They either win big or they win the next turn very, very easily. So it's just hard to get any control out. This is a super fast. You don't care about doing any kind of countering on this team. This is just a glass cannon, so to speak, because you do have that shriek, but that's it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it'd be interesting to see how this does. In this tournament, I'm expecting this to kind of roll over most teams. It'd be interesting to see if someone can work out a way to kind of stall it out effectively without falling way too far behind.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that was something that we discussed in length the other day. Was we said, well, what are the options to counter this? There's no options to counter it so much as there's options to stall it. But in doing so, you put yourself way behind. So common examples are you could put Hulk, either one of them, Jade Giant or Green Goliath, and you could have the misdirect combo, right, where you put out a sidekick turn 1 and prep all your dice to purchase a misdirection, as well as get ready for buying a Green Goliath or Jade Giant on turn 2. Have them out by the time that by the time the opponent fields their Yanti, but you're still behind because you had in that turn that you purchased that Green Goliath, you spent almost all of your energy just doing that one thing to misdirect them out. So you stalled for that turn. Rid of the problem.
Yeah, and then the Yanti team will buy Shriek, Fielder, blank your Hulk, and just go.
I think there are ways. I mean, if you have zombie mags, for example, zombie Magneto, that kills this team pretty hard.
Yeah.
So getting to that 7 though is a different story because it's
only 6.
do.
I mean, it's 6.
It's 6. Okay. I thought it was 7, but
so it's possible. And it'll be interesting to see if people can pull it off.
So
that's just an oppressive team, man. It's not fun to play against.
I think you've played it more than anyone I know, Robert. Just playing against me all the time.
And I hate it every time.
It's like unlike the Bard in Prison thing where all your pieces that you have on this team aren't really helping your opponent, right? Like at least with the Bard imprisoned, the imprisoned can be a risk you have to work around, right? There's literally no chance for your opponent. Like it's turn 3 and win.
Yeah.
Exactly.
In your main step. It's not even turn 3 win by attacking, right? It's
and
turn 3 win before you pass priority.
Yeah. The other thing that I see when I play people with this team is they make the mistake of buying the 1-cost actions, the basic actions. Okay, cool. I can literally buy 8 ones. Granted, they're energy specific, but it's not hard to do that. And you're putting yourself behind, and you're having junk in your bag.
I think there's the saving grace. I don't think that's necessarily a bad play, especially if you have your own attuned character, especially if it goes a little bit longer, where they've already bought some of that. It's kind of like, I can't remember who said this first, but each action die on your team is kind of like a bullet, right? I think it was Zach from Dice Masters, James and Zach. He says basically the Kobold Trap and the Bat Signal and your improvised weapon are like bullets. Each one you buy is a shot fired, right? So the more you can make your opponent run out of opportunities to shoot you down, the better it is. But that's not necessarily the first thing. The first thing you do should be to cover yourself, right? You should get undercover rather than trying to take all their bullets out.
Yeah, I think a good possibly a good team against this would be a misdirection bishop, possibly. That
I
might
was
be
playing
really
around, playing around with getting 2 bishops out,
good. Oh god,
and
I remember
that would be hard. Yeah, I've done it a couple of times. And that's hard for them to get around.
Spider.
That's why you have the shriek. That's why you have the shriek.
Yeah.
Yeah, Spider might be interesting with Cosmic Cube being so prevalent.
Yeah.
Cool. I think we've all seen enough of that. That
So,
horrible
well, one
team.
thing I wanted to go over, and there's a good reason why we have this list and this specific team up, is because it may be the boogeyman, and it may be something like everybody's like, oh crap, how am I going to deal? You don't necessarily need to brew for it. One of the things that Ben said earlier was that's just one team out of the two, and if it rolls you, it rolls you. You're like, good, I've got best of 3 on this. So if you prepare enough for it, maybe you could stall it out, maybe not. But if not, you should prioritize winning the next 2 games if you're that concerned. Some people play to have fun. Some people actually want to move up in the rankings. A lot of people just don't want to lose to this team or don't want to play it at all. So you have your ways to go about it, but we're giving you the basic layout of this team to let you know that it will show up in the tournament. I haven't seen everybody's lists, and I'm not going to tell you guys before any of those get turned in, but I will say that there's a guarantee you will see 1 or 2 of these lists in there, and there's a small guarantee that you have to play them. But again, that's just one team out of the 2 that we have.
I think if someone's real serious about like stomping everyone's face, the previous 2 teams are the 2 teams they will probably run, or some variation of those 2 teams. So it's just good to be aware of what the meta is. We don't know really. It's difficult to call, but these are the 2 teams that kind of got cards banned. So
maybe somebody out there is labbing right now, or has been since we first announced it, a way to deal with this effectively. If there is, we don't know about it. Well, otherwise, we'd be like, oh yeah, hey.
Or we're just not telling you.
I can't wait to see it, honestly, because Yanti, to me, Super Yanti is super boring. It's not that much fun to play. When you have an opponent that actually challenges you, man, it's fun because you're going back and forth with that person. But it's really hard for them to go back and forth with you unless they have Yanti themselves. And you're like that one match that had go to Max. Me and him were blanking, counter blanking, knocking out something to blank another thing, and then it was really, really ridiculously hard, but it was fun. That was my favorite game, and I lost because I misplayed, and it was totally my fault. I think I could have beat him, but that being said, it was super fun. I'm not mad that I lost. I'm mad that I didn't play to my fullest potential with that team.
Yeah, and I think Joe's right. That's one of the good things about the 2-team takedown. You don't have to focus on losing that one match. You can focus your energy towards the remaining 2.
Yeah.
Right. That doesn't mean to give up, but when you come up against in that situation where like you don't have any visible outs to whatever the opponent's doing with that team, this specific team, it's okay to be like, all right, well, if I lose this one, I still got 2 more games to go. Let's do this.
There are also lots of answers, and there are lots of hypothetical answers. Zombie Man. So against Yanti, I can name 10 answers that I think are particularly good off the top of my head. But to go from hypothetically good to actually being good is the next kind of step they need to make. Similar with Bard, Green Devil Mask is a great counter. Very hard to deal with. So there are answers, and I think people will be running answers. So it should be make for an interesting set of teams.
And if you lose to this team, don't I've played.
Don't sell your collection.
No, don't sell your collection, and also don't put yourself on tilt because you lost to this team. The best players in the world lose to this team, so don't think less of yourself for that, because I've seen people in the 2. I'm guilty of this. When I lose a game that I should have won or that I think is not very fair because I'm playing a terrible team, I put myself on tilt and I just don't pay attention to what I'm doing the rest of the matches. You need to pay attention. You even if you're down one match and you have 10 life remaining and your opponent has 20, you still have a chance. You just got to find the play. So that's one of the things.
Just remember that kitten hanging onto that rope. Just hang in there. That's it.
Good point, Robert. Good point.
Thank you. Motivational posters.
All right.
All right, let's move it along.
All
Because
right.
we're already 37 minutes in.
Robert's
We
eager
still
to
got
get to his
six
just-
team.
teams. Yeah, my team's a pretty easy, straightforward team.
I think
have-
this slightly could be like the like this could be a good surprise team.
I hope so.
I think this could be very, very interesting.
Okay. This is a version of a Flying Sidekicks team.
Big build up for you, Rob.
Yeah. So what we have is the main piece that we're going to use is Falcon Recon. So when Falcon attacks, your sidekicks cannot be blocked. That's the main piece. That's in the Uncanny X-Men. We're going to use White Tiger to field us some sidekicks. We're going to use Foot Ninja Syndicate that gets +1/+1 for each other sidekick die in the field. And he's a sidekick himself. He's an ally. 3-cost bolt. So we're just going to want to get those sidekicks as big as possible and use our Falcon to swing. We also have a 2-cost crystal to buy turn 1 that turns question marks into sidekick faces so we can field more sidekicks. Then we have Mimic for some Mimic ramp because you're fielding sidekicks. Why not use Mimic? We have Shriek for control for some blanking just in case you get in trouble. And we also have the 4-cost Wonder Woman Child of Clay, which is a 4-cost mask to get out there to protect all of your characters, just in case Shriek wasn't doing the job for you. And one of my favorite cards, Green Devil Mask, to help clear your opponent's board, just to make sure that it doesn't get too big. And then we have Create Food and Water to help control your bag. And then Insect Plague, in case you want to use some mass to swing through with those big old foot ninjas, in case your Falcon there isn't in the field or something like that. It's just a backup way to do some damage.
Robert, why is it so important for this team to have Green Devil Mask?
Because we're using White Tiger, and White Tiger, you pay a fist, and you both must field a sidekick die from your use pile if you're able to. So that's some shenanigans. You can pop your opponent's field, clear their board whenever you want to do it on your turn, and it's glorious. So it's kind of a douchey move, but hey, it's not super rare Yanti. So there's that. What do y'all guys think?
Shots fired.
I love how that's your qualifier.
Yes.
It's not
It's
super
not-
Rianti, so it can't
Hey.
be that bad.
That's the tag. Hey, it's not super rare Yanti. Just like that.
Oh my god.
I think this is the thing I'm most excited about seeing, the White Tiger Green Devil Mask combo. I hope it goes well. I like to create Food and Water Global just to make sure you have a sidekick that you can field. And then I don't know, just be a jerk. Just be like, oh, I see you have I see you have 3 characters over there. Oh, you've been playing very cleverly around my Green Devil Mask.
Whoop.
And then,
Not
whoops.
anymore.
Yeah.
So
Um
it is an interesting combo that you went for Crystal. Did you do that just to avoid your opponent like using another global that you would be putting out there?
I used it because Ben suggested it, that I put a 2-cost on my team, which totally made sense for that first turn buy second PXG. I actually had the Wong in there that buffs your sidekicks to make them bigger, so all the sidekicks would also be +1. And yeah, so we switched that out with the 2-cost crystal just to make more sidekicks.
I think there's room for definitely a psychic buffer somewhere if you wanted to mess around with that. You could definitely roll with that. I think that'd be useful. But
I think that Foot Ninja on its own is enough to do what you want it to do with sidekicks.
yeah, so
anyways.
right, so that is probably the only worry about that is if that gets shut down, then you might be in trouble. So you might want to second double up with instead of maybe the Mimic or the Wonder Woman, depending on what you think the ramp's going to be like. But yeah, as it is, that Foot Ninja, I mean, you can win. There's probably a turn 4, turn 5 win.
Yeah.
And the biggest call out for this specific team that I want to let everybody know, besides the rare crystal, this is an economy team. This is all commons, uncommons, starter sets, team packs. These are pretty available cards. So yeah, that was the main reason why I wanted to do it. I wanted to create a team to present here so that newer players that might not have some of the rares, super rares, things like that, could make a pretty aggressive team and be competitive with it. And if
Robert,
you have,
the man of the people.
Yeah, I
am
mean
a man.
you could always put in the 2-cost Wong as well, which is just an ally
I was just about to
with
say that.
fast.
Yep.
Yeah. So there's plenty of options. Also has some fist synergy, which is really good. I think this could be slightly pretty effective.
I mean, I
Aggro
love
team.
I love how this team is, self-reliant. It doesn't rely on somebody else bringing PXG or Resurrection. You have everything that you need within this one team, so everything's contained, which means that you can do what you want and not have to worry about what the opponent's bringing. You can just have your game plan and sort of roll it out from there turn by turn, which is the best way to go about playing in a Golden Age tournament so that you can just stick to your basics and react to whatever the player's doing as they're doing it instead of having to rely on what they built or what they're bringing to the match before the match even starts.
Cool. I'm glad y'all like it.
Yeah, I like surprise. Like this is just a good, solid, simple aggro team that I think anyone could do well in a tournament with.
This is the kind of team. This is the kind of team that, if multiple people bring builds similar to this that are strong but budget friendly and have their own agenda, we could have some very good games going. I mean, this is the kind of team that you want to see play. That people would rather see.
Yeah. This is an exciting team
Over stuff
It's
like
a bit
Yanti, Bards, and Imprisoned.
if we're gonna compare like in sport, like this would be a very like exciting. Well, in soccer, football, this would be like a really attacking, like nice passing, like play around. The ball's always moving kind of team, as opposed to Bard, which is kind of like a very functional. We're gonna defend until we smack you in the face.
For sure.
What would you call the Yancy? Just like pull out knives and cut you as they go down the field?
Like jerky, like they paid off the referee. I don't know what they've done. They just like the manager gets like beaten up in the tunnel before the game.
They rough them up a bit.
Yep.
Some kneecaps.
The Super Yanti team's kind of like the Lakers after LeBron James.
I don't think the Lakers are going anywhere this year.
Yeah, they're probably not going anywhere for a couple of years because that LeBron James, he gets paid.
I'm just saying, they've got him on the team now. There's really like LeBron James is the Super Yanti, and the Lakers are just the rest of the team.
Like another thing with this with the team, I almost feel like Falcon could be taken off for another blanker if you really like if you're running into a meta where people are blanking your guys. Having that Shriek may not be enough, but then again,
I think that Wonder Woman's for.
Yeah, true.
So the Wonder Woman is the slot that I would move stuff around. I mean, I even love the crystal here. The guaranteed sidekicks on your wilds rolls, that's beautiful. That's money right there.
I think there's what's good about this team is there's a couple of ways to do everything. Create Feeding Water and Mimic kind of act as your kind of rampy pieces. White Tiger, Crystal work as your way to get sidekicks out. Falcon and Insect Plague work as your way to get stuff through. And Shrieking Green Devil Mask act as your like control pieces. So that's good.
And last thing that I'll say about it, with Ben's help, I feel like this is the type of things that I wanted to see when we thought of the 2-team takedown, where you just have these cards, and most of these cards are cards that people use, but cards or teams that you wouldn't normally see played, you're just going to use everything from every set that you have to try to make a functional competitive team. And that was the idea behind.
Yeah, this was one of the teams that was like everyone's first team, right? So this was the team that everyone kind of messed around with at the start when they started out because it's really simple.
Yep.
And then, so no, if you're, it's a good way to build around. I think there's lots to build around here.
My first team was a super terrible villain team that Robert smashed out with Mask Ring.
Oh, you're some Yanti player, so I'm not surprised.
That's just weird.
Oh my god! All right. Speaking of ring teams,
yeah. So talking about things to build around, right? We've kind of for our second team, we've all kind of decided to do an example of lantern ring teams. And one had to be left out, and we decided to leave out. Well, I made a quick bolt team to show everyone, just as an example of what you could do.
And I thought you and Joe could go over that one together a little bit.
I don't know if we need to go over it. It's just super spammy. If you want to do some good bolt stuff with lots of blankers, it has lots of blankers. Has a cool summon skull global, which is fun, and I forgot about until the other day.
Well, that's a name I haven't heard since before you were born.
I know, yeah. The bolt global one is pretty cool. Pay 1 bolt. When target monster you control damages an opponent, put it back in your bag put it in your bag. Yeah.
I've never used that global, but it sounds awesome.
Yeah, it's really annoying. Like you just attack through with a bunch of stuff. They think, okay, at least they've gone to the used. Nope, they're back in the bag.
Why isn't that on an unblockable team?
Yeah, I know. It's super good.
Wow.
And I really like the invulnerability as well. I think invulnerability is really fun card to play around with.
I've been seeing that in that type of thing. Like I think the new one's raised shields or whatever, with the lightning.
Well, it has the pump global, right? But the actual action, when your characters attack, they can't be KO'd or they return to the field. Pairs really well. But Bolt Ring, there's so much to do with Bolt Ring. We kind of just decided to put this up as an example, but there's a bunch of good stuff people could do.
Bolt Ring was considered to have the best options for its time because you had Dwarf Wizard, you had
we have Iceman Global, right? Like where you
are
guaranteed bolts, a bunch of bolts.
And so there was a bunch of stuff you could do with it. Some of the other teams like so at the time that this was prevalent in the meta, the order of severity was Bolt Rings was on top, and then Mask Rings was a close second. Mask Ring variant went to the top 4, I believe, of Nats that year. Was it 2016? So it was pretty good. And then you had Shield Ring, and then you had Fist Ring.
Yeah, so we kind of just skipped Bolt Ring because we figured it would be an easy one for people to work out, right? There's a bunch of blankers you can put on, a bunch of ways to get bolts.
That Chwinga is pretty gross for it.
Yeah, Chwinga's fun. I tried to do like a fun Bolt Ring team if that exists, with some cards that people might not be like, ooh, this is my first choice. So if you want to see a Bolt Ring team, there's a Bolt Ring team. But moving on, we're doing my second team now, right?
Yes, sir.
Shield Ring.
Shield Ring, which, to be honest with you, I can't exactly remember what his build was. But in 2017, the world champion won with a Shield Ring team. And I think it was very similar to this. I can't remember exactly what he had on. But this is similar to a WKO team I played, which is super good. Shields have a lot of control and a lot of interesting ways to do control. So on this team, the main idea is to basically get your control out and then keep rolling for shields when you're ready to win. But basically every single card apart from the ring and chalkboard
are shield
control. Is shield, but it's also control, right? So Giant Spider has a great ability, make psychics block it. But also you can pay a shield to force characters to block, which works really well with probably my favorite card on this team, which is the Namorita Uncommon. When Namorita carries a non-shield character die with combat damage, place the KO die in the use pile. It's super oppressive, particularly when your opponent's liking to attack. When your opponent attacks with stuff like Guy Gardner, this KOs it pretty much on every level, especially when you can flip the stats with Kal-El Global. It works really well against Yanti. You can force block and then KO it to the use pile, and sending anything to the use pile whenever you can is super strong. Then Blob and Bishop, I don't know how much we need to talk about them. They're really current, really strong meta cards. which work pretty well against any team. So if you put those on any team, they'd be good pieces. The bishop might be a little bit expensive, but in general is very strong. And then my second favorite is this cyborg, which obviously has the bonus of having the energy fixer to shield global, which is good, especially early game to get a chalkboard out, to be able to chalkboard something. But it also has a really strong ability where it can block 2 character dice and it takes no more than 2 damage from each non-crossover character die he blocks. So on level 2 and 3, he's basically unkillable by combat damage, which is super strong. And then Kal-El Global is one of the best globals ever printed. Makes stuff like Blob, which is really defensive, into big, massive beat sticks that you can run in. Yeah. And then you can mess around with Splinter's teachings as well, which is really fun. And then something that works ridiculously well with this team is Team Up, actually, because you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 affiliations.
Yeah.
Although Lantern Rings affiliations wouldn't count. So you only have 7. Only 7 affiliations, so you can get everything plus 6.
That's all?
Yep.
I've seen more.
Yeah, you can definitely get more in if you took out the Lantern Ring, but we're making Lantern Ring teams.
I have a question for this team. How do you ramp with this team?
You don't. It's very dependent on getting sidekicks out.
And just having them back then.
Okay. It's very much about fielding all the sidekicks you can, chalkboarding when you can, especially early game, and then using the shields when you need to. So ideally, your turn 1 would be field giant or chalkboard a giant spider, field a sidekick. And then turn 2, you can buy whatever control piece you need to slow your opponent down a lot. So buy a blob, chalkboard a blob, or chalkboard a bishop, or chalkboard a cyborg.
Conversely, you can
second,
actually use
if you go second,
to get out the bigger stuff, because
you can always use that.
You field it, and you can still get their bonus effects like blob and whatnot.
Yeah, I like the Splinter's Teachings actual action as well. But you could probably swap that out for a ramp global if you wanted it. Playing this team, I haven't really felt the need to do that. Chalkboard, I think, is enough, particularly when you can buy giant spiders for so cheap. And if you get you're only getting Namoritas out. Namorita is your big kind of quick buy thing, right? Because she's a threat all the time. You want to be attacking with her or blocking with her, and she's cheap to field. So
I remember Namorita and Cyborg being the standouts of that season. The Namorita especially, she was just big. Everybody was asking like, "Oh, well, what are you going to do about Namorita?"
Yeah, Namorita I think was kind of like the surprise inclusion on World's 2017 team, and it's really effective. Sending anything to this is one of the few dice that I think can send a KO dice to the use pile. There are other abilities to do it, but this does it on both your attack step and your opponent's attack step, which is difficult. There's stuff like the Thor Global.
Right. So the other ones that you're talking about are Black Adam, the rare Black Adam. While he's active, anytime they would go to the KO pile, characters would go to the KO piles. The opponents, they would go to the use pile, or they would go to the card.
Yeah. There's other stuff. There's like the
and then
there's the uncommon Doomsday, which KO'd Superman dice, but they went to the use pile instead of the prep area.
And then the Ra's al Ghul.
Stuff. Yeah.
For non villains.
Yeah, there's stuff like that. There's also global stuff. So there's a Trask Global, and a Thor Global, which kind of send attacking dice. But this is really cheap, and you attack with it. If they let it through, you swap and you do 6 on top level damage to them. If they block with a sidekick or whatever, it's gone to the used.
Yeah.
And on its level 3 face, you can survive a lot of hits too.
Definitely.
Yeah, you have that option, right? You attack. If they block something with cheap, it goes to use pile without flipping. If they block something with something big, then you flip the stats.
And Michael Ingledew brought up a good point. If your opponent brings some ramp for you, it winds up just being ridiculous, and you can get to stuff so much easier and just push hard.
Yeah, I think playing with this team against the PXG or something like that would be really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Faux show.
All right.
Cool. Let's keep this party going.
I really do like that giant spider Namorita combo. That's
That's nice.
I'm glad you put that on there because whenever people would talk about Neymar, I was like, which one are you talking about? Because none of them sound good to me, but now it makes sense.
I think I think the common as well does -2 attack, which isn't as useful, but is good. But yeah, this Namorita can be really oppressive, and it's wherever the W is, which is an unusual team up affiliation.
New Warriors.
Yeah, New Warriors.
New Warriors. Yeah.
Yep.
Wow, where did that team go? You know what I'm saying?
Speedball.
Is that it?
I think so. Just
The
Speedball
New
and-
Warriors
no.
only had 3 cards.
Oh,
Three
and
cards that had
Justice.
yeah.
Justice was the other one.
Mm.
He's not
Yep.
bad. He's cheap.
Justice and
he's a good blade.
Speedball were okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
They were draft bombs though. They were just like you always picked them up.
Yeah.
But yeah,
he did well.
there's lots of stuff to play around with Shield. This probably optimal. You could also put in Arch Nemesis instead of Team Up, so you can do crazy stuff with stat swapping, with lots of combat tricks. And yeah, I mean, Kal-El is also a massive beat stick as well.
What would you think about Trusted Friend in there?
I think was it Michael who said that?
Yeah.
I think he was talking about with the Hush,
Oh, yeah.
or he was talking about the Doomsday maybe.
The
But if you put
Doomsday,
in the Hush, which is also a shield, you can use that for ramp with the Trusted Friend, which is also fun.
I like Hush Ramp.
Yeah, I like Hush Ramp as well. Yeah, it's interesting.
I don't like Hush Ramp at
Alfred
all.
or Oracle.
Or Trusted Friend global. Yeah.
Match with ID card. Wait, we can't use that.
Matt's getting a little ahead of himself there. All right, so we only have a little bit of time left, so let's go on to Chris's team.
Okay. This is my fist team. So I kind of had an idea of what I was gonna do. Then all of a sudden, I started getting into it, and I'm like, "This doesn't work. This doesn't work." And then Ben suggested Green to Goliath, and I've never played with that card. I wasn't around for AVX, and so I don't really think about that. But the big card on this team is probably Hulk Green Goliath. So for those of you that don't know, while Hulk is active, whenever either you or Hulk takes damage, Hulk deals 2 damage to each opposing character. And when he's on the burst side, which is the bottom 2 sides, he deals 3 damage instead. That's super gross and pretty effective at clearing fields. And then the rest of the team is super just
It's just disgustingly cheap.
yeah.
I did not notice that before.
Yeah. I wanted to go cheap and fast, man. You don't like it, I know, but so then I have Casey Jones penalty box. When Casey Jones KOs a sidekick character die, gain 1 life. I really kind of like that. And then pay a fist, target character die must block this turn if able. I like that. And then Robert's suggestion. Thank you, Robert. Black Widow, Sarnia or Serena. When Black Widow attacks, she deals 2 damage to your opponent. Your opponent can prevent this by spinning one of his or her character dice down 1 level. That's so gross. So gross. And then I have Guy Gardner, just be that guy, along with Serena. And then Iron Fist. He kind of doesn't really fit in this team for half of his functionality, but when Iron Fist is active, reduce damage from opposing character abilities by 1. When Iron Fist is KO'd, you may move a fist die with purchase cost of 5 or more from the used pile to the prep area. So it doesn't really work except for Green Goliath, and he's probably not coming off the field anytime soon.
Yeah, but the secondary ability is less important than the first ability, right?
Yeah, definitely. So it kind of helps out facing an attuned team.
Yeah.
And then I got Cobalt Trap because it's an action with the fist, and I get to field almost everything on my team.
Yeah, that's good to include. Yeah, fair enough.
And then Cobalt Trap for the Swarm for ramp. And then for my basic actions, I have Create Food and Water for, the bag fixing. And then I also have Haymaker for the Fisk Global to be, after I attack, declare attack, and the Lantern Ring does the damage, I get to use those fists to then swing through with more damage.
Yeah, I think you probably need a ping global for Hulk, although you have the Casey Jones force block, so you can damage Green Goliath that way. And yeah, I mean, if you buy Lantern Ring early, you can kind of just have that out and then just swing away as much as you can with the Guy Garner, Black Widow, Casey Jones, and they're just gonna have to suck it up. They're gonna die quick.
Yeah.
Yep. So what happened with the mindless ones? You decided not to run with that?
I thought about it, but man, I kind of wanted to do that, but then again, I saw I probably should have mindless ones there instead of Casey Jones, to be honest.
We were talking about the Casey Jones that forces villains to block, was it?
Yep.
That one I would still consider over this one, even though it has the niche little global.
Yeah, I just figure early game they're going to have sidekicks out, so I don't know. I
actually think this team would be actually a pretty good matchup against Yanti. You have a little bit of life gain. You have the Iron Fist, which slows it down, and then the Green Goliath, which kind of nukes it.
Boom, Yanti counter.
Well,
it would depend how quickly you could get Green Goliath out.
The meta is fixed.
Yeah, meta's fixed, guys.
So Iron Fist will work in that as well, in combination with that.
Yeah, so Iron Fist slows the Yanti down while you buy the Green Goliath, and then they might carry the Iron Fist, try and carry the Iron Fist with Yanti.
Yeah. Which is good because it's less
and then you
damage
prep
on
the
you.
Green Goliath. Yeah, there's stuff there. And it's a very aggro team, which is good for fists. Because if you're attacking with Serena and Guy Gardner, they're probably blocking, so you're probably going to be sending those to prep and roll on their next turn, which gives you more fist potential with the Lantern Ring. So
good,
simple and effective. Yeah.
That's what my wife says.
Simple and effective. Okay.
All right. Let's get on to the other team.
All right, Robert.
Last team. So this is a version of I played Chris with that he was not happy with when he first started playing. So it's a masked ring team with multiple man pile on. So multiple man. We're all familiar with the swarming mechanism there. We got some PXG going on. We have Elf Thief to steal my opponent's PXG energy. Billy Club to make masks and just in case if I need to buy one. We have Raven to protect all my mask characters. We have Morphing Jar, the one cost mask, which is ridiculous. He's so beefy for one cost.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
And then we have Storm, Goddess of the Plains. She may be 4 cost, but when I attack, you got to reroll all of your characters for board clear and stuff like that. Then we got Blink, so I can use that mask global to pull all my guys back and do it again next turn. And Resurrection just for some ramp and churn there to fix my bag.
Okay. I like this because we've got like my Lantern Ring build was really controlly, but slow. Yours, Chris, was really like aggressive and fast, and cheap. And then this one is just like I am going to ramp all the time and like have a good balance of both control and aggro.
Yeah.
This is probably the best out of the 3.
Imagine
I like this one a lot.
Little 2-month-old Chris, don't know nothing.
Snot-nosed Chris showing up to play some Dice Masters. No Matt. He has to use a wooden dice that he carved out of a stick outside to play some Dice Masters. And he's like, play me with the best teams. All right. Here's a mask ring team for you.
I think you also brought Serena.
I think so. Might have been one of the teams. I
played
you with a few teams.
Yeah, I mean, it sucked at the time, but I got to have my eyes opened pretty wide pretty quickly. The only thing I didn't get to face was Guy Gardner, and I got to face that in a WKO, and that really opened my eyes.
Yep.
So.
Yep. Yeah. That was funny.
Yeah. This team, has a lot of options, right? You have a lot of ways to ramp quickly and effectively, and then you kind of just get your cheaper mask characters out. You get that Raven out, so they can't really do anything to you, and then just spam them with all your ramp. Just pile in the morphing jars.
That Raven, man. I have bad memories of that. And fond
Yeah,
memories.
and it might be prevalent this time around because Shriek's the only thing that stops it, right? Shriek's the only thing that really counters it effectively. And Shriek can only be in one team.
The wording targeted can't be targeted by your opponents means any globals they play, actions they play, or character abilities they play cannot be targeted. Or your characters can't be targeted by any of those.
Yep. And Shriek is the only one that can do it, and she can't be in the field. You have to Shriek it before she gets in the field, right?
No. Shriek gets around it because Shriek targets the card.
Oh, not the dice. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
But Shriek can only be in one team.
True. I'll just attack with Storm. Make you roll it.
So one thing I've been noticing is like each of you guys bringing your ring teams. You also kind of worked around the Golden Age or the 2-team takedown requirements as well, because either teams don't share. Well, with the exception of Chris's, got that kobold trap, but either teams don't share too many cards. If any,
you should not have had that.
Oh, I'm such an idiot.
But these are just basics. We brainstormed and Ben had a lot of the really good ideas, as well as Chris and Robert, about these are kind of primers to get you guys aware of what your options are, because it can be really overwhelming. I myself struggled with the second team that I was going to run coming into this thing, because I was like, man, look at all these options I have. And this is just with my collection alone. That's not including things that I may want to pick up here within the next few days, 7 days. 5 days. So the deadline is coming up. I'd recommend that you get to testing, and just going off of these lists, it's good, but it's not. This is in no way indicative of what's going to be out there, with the exception of the Yanti team. There will be a minimum of 1 in this tournament, just because people have the team, they want to use it. Cosmic Cube was banned in Modern, so that means they have to shift it over to Golden Age to get any chance of playing it. So that's not to mention that there are going to be Ultraman variants, as well as we haven't talked about Beholder, the 7-cost Beholder from Battle for Faerun, that whenever it's the first attacking die, you trigger all the actions. That includes Imprisoned. And so you would, lock people down that way. We haven't talked about Big Entrance and how it can be really effective in any of these any of these ring teams, specifically with Guy Gardner. That was the big thing to do, was to make all your Guy Gardners cheaper, put them in the used pile, and then field Miriam along with another Guy Gardner to get all of them out. So there's a lot of things and a lot of different approaches to Golden that we haven't quite covered. This is just a basic.
I think the kind of thing is, if you saw a team here, what you should do is build it, play around with it, and then work from there. I think what the kind of idea behind these teams doing them was kind of like, here's a base point for you to start with. Here's a good
formula.
I'd say at least 95% of these cards will be in the tournament. I maybe every single card that we've chosen will be in the tournament. In some form or another. I can't think of too many that wouldn't make a team.
We're just so good at picking that they're just going to be in there. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I was about to say, I don't think your Casey Jones will be in there, but just saying. But
the
maybe.
anti-Casey Jones. All right, I'm done.
Apart from Chris is garbage. Everything. Wow. Maybe the Summon Skull won't be there.
Oh yeah, that's probably one.
Wow, people should run it with Unblockable, man. It's interesting. It was a pain when I used to play against one of my friends who had a team with it.
Yeah.
We still haven't seen we haven't shown a lot of the energy fixers that were here from the Thor set, as well as the Green Arrow and the Flash set. Those are still going to be a big factor in a lot of these teams.
I think the two main categories of team we haven't shown are Beholder Ultraman, kind of doing all your actions in one turn. That's one type. And then I think we missed out a bunch of other cube teams that could be around.
King Black Bolt.
King Black Bolt's one. Infiltrate would be interesting.
I would show the King Black Bolt team, but I just don't have that card anymore.
There's also
it's a website. We have a
along the
website.
same-
one
that
of
can do
my
that.
friends is thinking about running a very good cube team, which I don't really want to ruin.
Nice.
So you still have the older, more effective Golden Age cards that were just powerhouses back in the day, and that's Gabi. You know, it goes really well with Cube. There's still, I mean, the team that you used to win Fonets, the Ring of Winter Dragon team.
Yeah.
That just opens up a whole new Golden Age. Just opens up so many options.
Ring of Winter is very strong with
the older dragons, like the BFF dragons, Battle for Faerun dragons, are just so good with this ring.
And
yeah.
And dragons are really good also with cube.
Yep.
Yeah, there's that too.
So one of my favorites to play was actually Blue Dragon.
The 4-cost one?
He was really good.
Someone else is messing around with Dragon Cube ring stuff.
Okay. Looking forward to that.
I'm not gonna enter.
There's good stuff. I think whatever team you build will have good matchups and bad matchups, which is the good thing about this format.
Yeah. And the good thing about this is we can see. I don't want to jump the gun and say we're going to ban things in the future, but you'll get an idea of what things are way too OP.
Yeah.
So,
so I know a lot of people have been asking for certain inclusions from the newer product because they're eager to play because there's a very big effect on Golden Age that these newer cards coming out will have.
People are just excited that I don't know.
There's one combo that I really wanted to play that I'm so excited about, but I can't.
Well, so when we have our next Golden Age, whatever format tournament, we'll keep an eye on those things, and based off of how well this tournament does or how bad it does, we can adjust from there. We can make our bannings. We can say, okay, well, this is too oppressive, or we just don't want this in the format.
Yeah, because it's not fun.
Oh man.
And I'm not even talking about Super Rianti either.
Yeah.
Maybe it's something else. Maybe it's imprisoned itself. Maybe we just ban imprisoned outright.
I think
in the future,
Common Yanti Wasp and Under Surveillance. Super broken.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Everyone gets excited about new stuff.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, so
this has been really fun. I think brewing this has been very fun looking back at the old stuff because there is some fun stuff in the old stuff.
Yeah, there is. I miss it. I really do.
I really didn't get to play that much in that meta, so it's interesting to go back. Even though I feel as though I'm playing with a lot more modern stuff than Golden Age. Well, one team is heavy Golden Age for me, and one's just simply not. I already have my teams basically done, I think, for the most part. But
I have no idea.
Me either.
You guys are the Science Fair projects. Will do it the day before your teams, and they'll wind up being good.
Well, I don't have any of the. I don't have a lot of the golden stuff, unfortunately, because otherwise I'd probably run an all golden team.
And
yeah, the reason why I wanted to throw that sidekick team out there, that flying sidekick team, just to touch on that again, was I get some messages from some guys that didn't have a lot of stuff, so if they can get their hands on commons and uncommons, that would be like a pretty decent competitive team to run.
Yeah.
Yeah, so one great thing about Dice Masters back in the day, I want to say whenever they were first starting, the first 2 years, they overprinted product. I mean, you couldn't get enough of Yu-Gi-Oh! Series 1, Battle for Faerun. Uncanny X-Men was probably their largest print run ever. The stores that in my area that I moved from, which is out in West Texas, middle of the desert, they still have boxes of UXM that are just haven't been opened. That's how plentiful that product is.
It's everywhere.
So those are the more effective commons and uncommons that you can find for budget options, just like you were saying with the flying sidekicks. So if you guys have any questions, you can hit us up on our Twitter or Facebook. Look at some of our past videos that sort of highlight that kind of stuff. And I'll also link to the, there's a link to the entry in the description, so that whenever you guys are ready and you're done with the brewing part, you feel confident, you can go ahead